let us see the syntax and logical errors in the compilation. The main job of a compiler is to check the syntax and compile time errors or logical errors. Compiler doesn't check runtime errors. So in this program, we are going to check the compile time errors or the syntax or logical errors while compilation. Similarly, we are also going to see runtime errors, how runtime errors are not being handled by the compiler. So the problem statement here is to understand syntax, logical errors and or compile time errors and runtime errors. Runtime errors are very difficult to handle. As part of C programming, we can give a logic and control the runtime errors. But when you go with the higher programming languages like Java, there you have exception handling techniques to handle this runtime errors. Now, as part of C code, we need to write the different test case for finding the runtime error and to handle it. Now, as part of code, let me intentionally give some errors and check how the compiler is handling it. For example, if I am giving int, I am typing it as capital INT, followed by I am giving the identifier name as value. Now, whenever I compile this particular code, immediately, that is whenever I debug, the compilation is also called as debugging. So here, if you can see this syntax or logical error, if you read this logical error, unknown type name int, which means the data type names, whatever you are writing, it should be written in the lowercase only. As we have clearly said, C programming is case sensitive, which means the lowercase and uppercase are different. Now, if I am changing this to int, now you don't get any errors because your code has been successfully rectified, right? So it has been given with no errors. Now, if I change one more, suppose if I am removing a semicolon over here, then it will also give an error because each and every C program should end with a semicolon. Now, if you can see here, what is the logical error? It is being specified here is error expected. Either it should be an equal to sign or it should separate with a comma operator if you are giving multiple variable names. Either it should contain a semicolon. So these are the expected errors which are giving as part of this particular line 5. Now, if I am giving comma, then after comma operator, there should be another variable name. So if I debug once again, you will get an error specifying that expected identifier, still identifier is needed. So if I am giving another identifier name, suppose let's say I am giving identifier name value 1. So it was expecting an identifier, but I am giving the identifier without any semicolon again. It gives the earlier error message. Expected equal to or comma or semicolon. Imagine if I am giving equal to sign and I am not giving any value for this. So it is also an syntax error. Any identifier name, if you are initializing a value, we should be giving the value immediately after it. If I am not specifying any value, so it is also giving an error because it is expecting for some value, that is expected expression or expected some value. Suppose if I give some value but I am not ending with a semicolon, then you can see an error. Expected comma. If you want another identifier, we will be giving comma, or if you don't have any other, then we need to give it as a semicolon. If I give semicolon, then it will not give me any error, which means it has been successfully compiled without any errors. Now let us take some other syntax errors. Let us take some of these syntax errors. Now I am giving one expression, value equal to val1 plus semicolon. As we have said, every value in a C program or every instruction in a C program ends with a semicolon. But if you know the syntax for binary operators, this is a binary operator which comes for arithmetic operators. In binary operators, there should be two operands. In between, there should be one operator. One operand is val1, the another operand here is missing, which means according to the syntax of the binary operators, it is missing one operand, then it will throw an error. So if we are thorough in syntax, then lots of errors, the logical errors, we can handle it. The only thing is you should be thorough in more syntax. Once if you are familiar with syntax, writing the programs with an error-free code is possible. Now you can see the error here, expected expression before semicolon, or you can also see here value equal to val1 plus you have directly given the semicolon without writing any operand. So here it is expecting an operand in an expression. Now if I am giving a value as 66, then this is one binary syntax correct instruction. So in a binary operators, definitely there should be two operands followed by, in between there should be one operator. Either it may be arithmetic operator, relational operator, logical operators, bitwise operators. So any of these things which comes under binary operators. Now if you debug it, you don't get any error. Your program is error free. So once your program is error free, only then it gives us flexible for getting the exact output. So this is how we can carry and we can understand how to handle the syntax and logical errors. Now let me take one example for runtime errors. Now let me take one example, value equal to val1 divided by 11, val1 divided by 11. So whenever we are going to see the runtime errors, the syntax and semantics while compiling the code, we don't have any errors. But whenever we are giving the input, then there is a difficulty. For example, for runtime errors, let me take two more variables, A and B, and I will take one more variable as a result. Now let me give result equal to A divided by B. So according to the syntax, this is valid. According to the syntax, there is no error at all. If you check it, then there is no error at all. Now what happens here is, if I am going to input the value of B and value of A, now see here at runtime, printf, enter the values of A and B, enter the values of A and B, scanf, percentile D, address of A comma address of B. Now I am printing the result. Printf, the result is percentile D slash n res. Now if I debug, I don't get any errors because it is syntactically correct. Because this is a binary operator which comes under arithmetic operators division. A and B are two operands. Now syntax wise this is absolutely correct, but let me execute this code. Now I am inputting the values of A and B. Let's take A value is 10, B value I am giving it as 0. So anything divided by 0, so you're getting it 0 value, which is sometimes we also get the infinity, or this kind of errors we call it as runtime errors. In order to handle this runtime errors, we can give a condition. Only if the B value is not equal to 0, only then we need to process the result. So there was a small mistake. Just you can take this result equal to A by B after reading the values. Now A value is 10 and B value is 0. So here we are getting floating point exception core dumped. So this is what we are getting the result, which means this is a runtime exception. You can see here exception, floating point exception. So in order to handle these exceptions, in Java we have something called exception handling techniques, like if the array out of bound exception, if the memory out of bound exception, indexed out of bound exception. Okay, all these types of exceptions we can easily handle with the help of exception handling techniques. But as part of our C code, you can also handle this exception by giving this particular condition. If B is not equal to 0, only then you process this result. Else just we give a message printf, the division is not possible. And if you want to exit here itself, if you want to exit the code here itself, then we can write exit of 0. It will not print the value. Right? Now let me execute this code once again. Now I am entering the values of A as 10 and B value as 0. It will directly come out. The division is not possible, it is coming outside. Imagine if I am giving the value of B which is not equal to 0. Now I am giving the values of A and B. A value is 10, B value is 5. Now 5 is not equal to 0, then it will evaluate this particular expression and give the result. So this is how we can handle the runtime exceptions. This is the explanation for syntax and logical errors, or we call it as compile time errors and runtime errors. Only one thing I will suggest everyone is be thorough in syntax. Then by default you can write a program with an error free. I hope every one of you understood this topic. Thank you.